After leaving the Allegheny Portage Railroad National Historical Site, I went to the bottom of the hill to the east to see another famous civil engineering and historical railroad site. Right. Here it is. Well, look at that. The incline is not working. It's closed for repairs. This is a depot. Now it's a museum. Here's a museum. It's called The Curve. Well, I think I'll climb up to the top before I go into the museum. Wow, look at the graceful stairway. And this is the inoperative funicular, if I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, another good workout. Wow, what is this tree? Look at all these red balls on it. I don't know what this is. Here's the top, as far as you can go, I guess. Look how it's got a bypass there. Why is that? Are there two of them? Two cars going? All right, here's a lake. Now, so this valley here, this is coming up, the track coming up, right here. And it enabled the locomotives to be able to pull the cars to the top of the ridge. And thus it put the portage out of business. Now that's a big locomotive right there. GP9, Pennsylvania Railroad, was celebrated for pioneering a new railroad technology. So it is surprising to learn that the standard railroad of the world lagged behind most other major lines in converting to diesel power, having helped build the Allegheny coal industry by both consuming and transporting the product. The Pensy was reluctant to thumb its nose at customers by running oil-fired locomotives through their backyard. So the GP9 was the first diesel that they owned, locomotive they had. Well, I'm hoping a train will come rumbling through, maybe while I'm here waiting. I guess the trains don't run very frequently up here. So maybe I won't have any luck in seeing one. So this is a pretty nice little park up here. You can't drive to it, you have to walk up here. Over the hill. How railroads surmounted the spine of the Alleghenies between Altoona and Johnstown. Altoona down at the bottom, and here's the railroad going up, up, up. Horseshoe curve. Whippoorwill straight line. How about that? Each curve has a name. So do the straight lines. Here's a little town I was at. Galitzin. I'll accept that as close as I can get. Up, 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 over the hump. Here's the park. Well, just as I left, here comes the train. Well, I'm amazed how fast they're going. Oh, this is just 2 locomotives. No wonder they're going fast. Well, I had no luck. I came down and here comes the train. Listen to the echo. Here's a profile of the horseshoe. And who built the curve? Look, a wooden wheelbarrow, a spike maul, a pick, a D-handled shovel. That was a lot of work. Cradle of industrial America. I suppose that's true. Curve, this is the name of the ball team. That's their nickname, the Curves. You suppose the pitcher throws a curveball? The changing face of the curve. Look at that, sitting on the back of the train. What's this? Saboteurs? What were they trying to do? And celebration. The progress of our country follows the progress of transportation. All types have traversed this county of Blair. All about rail anchors. The Gandy dancers. They're the guys that are straight the track. Altoona Tracks rail yard, huge rail yard. There's a creaking floor. This guy was an Italian immigrant who came to the U.S. and he got a job with the Penzi. And they sent him up here to the horseshoe. So he had to walk the track to tell whether or not it was out of gauge. So they would put a glass of water on the train and see if it spilled in certain places. In 1954, he estimated that he had walked 30,000 miles on the job.
There was a time, not so long ago, when the only way to cross Pennsylvania was by foot. Over this rumbled landscape, not yet called Pennsylvania, the American Indians had worn many east-west paths. Probably by tracing the routes that animals had followed, the Native Americans found the paths of least resistance. Their trails wound along river valleys and connected with the passes that gave the easiest crossings of the Allegheny Mountains. The 1700s brought the European settlers and their new means of travel, horses and wagons. As for roads, the settlers recognized the directness of the Indian path and simply took them over. The old paths grew wider, muddier, dustier, but not any better. In 1794, road technology took a modest jump forward. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania chartered a turnpike from Philadelphia to Lancaster. The paving of these early roads could be nothing more than logs laid crosswise. The ride was rough. Still, it was better than being stuck in mud. By 1800, things were getting smoother. Canals, man-made waterways, were being built everywhere. Going by canal boat was faster, cheaper, and far more comfortable than anything that had come before. There was just one hitch. Canal boats stopped when waterways froze. But in the early 1800s, canals were seen as a boon to trade. The Erie Canal pushed through the interior of New York State to open trade with New York City. The Chesapeake and Ohio Canal did the same for Baltimore and western Maryland. Pennsylvania entered the race, with a state-owned and operated system combining canals and railroads. This route, called the Main Line of Public Works, linked the major east-west cities, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. To cross the state on the Main Line, passengers from Philadelphia rode overland in horse or steam-drawn rail cars to the beginning of the first canal at Columbia. Here, they boarded boats and followed the Susquehanna and Juniata rivers to Hollidaysburg. At Hollidaysburg, the barges were floated onto railroad cars. Then, without leaving their seats, passengers began the unlikely ascent to the crest of the mountain, towed by teams of horses, by steam locomotives, and, on the steeper inclines, by cables driven with stationary steam engines. Plopped back in the water at Johnstown, the traveler continued by canal to Pittsburgh. All told, a journey of 4½ days. Compare this with a dusty 20 days in a wagon. But this was still too slow for the worried merchants of Philadelphia, who saw New York and Baltimore pulling ahead in the race for Western trade. They persuaded the Pennsylvania legislature to authorize $30,000 to find an all-rail path across the state. 3 routes from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh were surveyed: the northern, middle, and southern routes. The middle route became the choice for construction of the Pennsylvania Railroad. In 1847, J. Edgar Thompson was appointed chief engineer of the newly established Pennsylvania Railroad. Thompson, an accomplished surveyor, set out to improve on the middle route. By following the Juniata River to Altoona, he was able to keep the approach to the mountains relatively flat. 5½ miles outside Altoona, Thompson and his crew were following the ridge into a deep valley when their path was barred by a mountain. This mountain, Katanning Point, divided the valley into 2 steep gorges. To the left across the valley, they surveyed another higher ridge that would carry the line. But how to get the tracks to that ridge? To go directly across would have meant building a huge bridge with an impossibly steep 4.37% grade. J. Edgar Thompson had an idea for a daring detour. He figured on gaining altitude by circling the valley. He and his men would route the tracks directly westward to the first ravine, Katanning Run, and build a huge earthfill to take the line across it. Then they would slice off the face of the mountain so the tracks could continue in a gradually rising semicircle, crossing the second ravine, Burgoon Run, by means of another great fill. That would put them on the ridge they wanted to reach. To accomplish this bold plan, conceived before the days of steam shovels and conveyor belts, the railroad imported 450 Irish mine workers and gave them only hand drills, black powder, picks, shovels, and wheelbarrows. As proof of the brilliance of Thompson's solution, Horseshoe Curve remains the essential conduit for east-west rail traffic. No change of alignment or elevation was ever needed. This registered historic landmark has never had a day off. It keeps on working exactly according to plan, even though the plan is older than the Civil War. Drawn by the spectacle of 100-car freight trains, pulled and pushed by teams of ground-shaking locomotives, metal wheels screeching on the curving rails. Drawn by these sights and sounds, and by the stunning natural beauty of the valley, some 100,000 visitors yearly make their way to the curve. And they come here over a paved road that follows an old Indian trail.
There goes another one. I missed that one too.